Hi everyone and welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another video. Today's video is all about HBAR, Hedera Hashgraph. I've had a lot of messages recently asking me, Rai, you're not tweeting about HBAR, you're not talking about HBAR much. Does this mean that you're not very bullish anymore? And that could be any further from the truth. I'm exceptionally bullish on HBAR right now. I'm seeing major similarities from this price action here as to what we got in the price action in 2020 before that meteoric rise to the upside for HBAR that everyone remembers, but now we've seen a sustained period of price action to the downside with ranges set and manipulations and deviations. Many people are bored, many people are set out the market, many people cannot see us even returning to some key inflection points in the chart up and at around 15 cents. So what I want to do in this video is go through a couple of the medium, lower and higher time frame stuff here for HBAR and potentially get some targets for if we are going to break this all-time high for HBAR, how high can we go? Have we already been given the clue on the logarithmic chart with Fibonacci's and trend lines as to where and when HBAR might be topping in a future bull run? If you like the video, guys, give it a like, sit back, relax, and let the market do the work, and we'll get straight into the analysis. So as most of you know, if you've been following on for a while, we did many of our major buys for HBAR back in late 2022 in December when everyone was calling for this range break, but we recognised that it was a potential finishing 5-wave sequence to the downside with a potential 200% move coming. So we was able to buy at 3.5 cents and take some profits up at around 9 and 10 cents, which many people said we're going straight up, but we recognised a completion of a 5-wave move to the upside, which is why Elliott Wave really is exceptional in terms of giving buy and sell prices when we're talking about market psychology and emotions in the market. If you've got a plan, if you've got market structure to go on, you can set a plan and you know when to buy and sell and know when your idea is invalidated and when your idea is not invalidated. These are all things that are great tools to use from Elliott Wave. Of course, you can have that plan without using Elliott Wave, but Elliott Wave for me really is a good tool to do that. But anyway, we've talked extensively about the buys at 3.5 and 9 and 10 cents in past videos. If you want to go check them out, you can go check them out. I'll leave links in the description below, but right now we're talking about HBAR and how this price action that we're seeing in 2022 and 2023 is similar to the price action that we saw in 2020. And one thing you will note is since HBAR's inception, we was dumping for a while. We had a major dump in the market, and it's kind of similar to what we've seen over the past few years for HBAR with this dump in the market. Capitulation wick to the downside, capitulation wick to the downside with weeks below the deviation and coming back within the range. So what we've seen is a very similar, not so big deviation below, but coming back within the range, and now settling like we was back in 2020 and settling for an even longer range now for HBAR. So if this is an accumulation range, what we can be expecting is the longer this range lasts, the higher we go. I've seen Credible Crypto say this before on Twitter. The longer the base, the higher in space, and it's exceptionally true because what these ranges do and what these bases do is every pump and dump, it winds people out of the market. Pumps, people who were going to sell was going to sell there. Dumps, people who was going to sell there in out of fear or greed. It works both sides of the market, and we're seeing a range set here. So the current range that we've got from that capitulation wick has been around 540 days, and let's have a look at how long that last range was from the capitulation wick back in September 2019 all the way to the end of the range. Talking about a 471-day range, so that 471-day range with deviations below and above led to that meteoric rise. Now we're seeing an even longer range here for HBAR, 540 days nearly. So this range that we're setting here could be preparing for an even bigger move to the upside than what we saw in January 2021, leading into March and finishing the move back in August 2021 when the hype was in crypto, when everyone had returned. Right now we're seeing nice moves in some altcoins, but we're not really seeing that Bitcoin dominance come down just yet. We need to be prepared for that because we know it's going to happen, and when we do see that, we need to have a plan in place for HBAR as to where we might want to profit take and as to where we might see an all-time high set for HBAR and what price targets and how we can get the clues on the chart that we're looking at today as to where that all-time high price may be. So let's go ahead and analyze HBAR, and if we was to get an all-time high for HBAR, the bull market was going to absolutely explode and HBAR's off to a new all-time high. What price could we be expecting to see HBAR top at? And one thing I want to do here on the logarithmic chart is just take a wick to wick trend line here for HBAR and extend that out there, and we'll zoom out and you can see how this trend line may give us the clues as to where HBAR could top in an all-time high. So what I want to do again is just take the trend-based Fibonacci as well from the lows to a potential top there. We can take that as wave 5 or this is wave 5. What I want to do is take this as wave 5, be conservative and have this full correction down as an ABC. I'll draw that out there so you can see this as a potential 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 there, somewhat of a 5-wave impulse with an expanding flat ABC there with 5-wave move down, completed with a potential 1, 2, 1, 2 impulse here for HBAR. And that's the bullish count, and that's why using Elliott wave, let's just get that off there. Using an Elliott wave gives you a really key psychological idea as to what you can be expecting. If that is a wave 1 to the upside and that's a wave 2, and you've got another wave 1 and wave 2, your invalidation is actually below the 4 cent level for HBAR. And how high are we above that? Hardly anything. If we was to get that drop below that level and the idea was to be invalidated, it realistically is only a 20-25% drop from current levels, and from the levels that we invested in at 3.5 cent, we're still up massively, even if we was to break that level to the downside. So that's why buying them lows and having that idea in invalidation is so important. And the risk to reward at the minute in the market is not as good as it was down here, but it's not exceptionally bad for all the people that was buying the dumps all the way down here for HBAR. So if that's a 1-2, 1-2 to the upside and that's a full impulse 1-2 correction to the downside, might be a bit messy if you're trying to understand Elliott wave and you're not really understanding here. But realistically, if we're talking about a 1-2, 1-2 impulse to the upside, it's the most bullish setup that you can get in Elliott wave, and you can actually use trend-based Fibonacci's here from low to high, including all of this as a correction to the downside, and potentially see where the 1-to-1 extension comes up at. And you can have a look at that. That comes at about $1.70 there for HBAR. And let's just take that trend line from wick to wick and extend that out there and see if that matches up and can potentially give us a bit of a timeline as to where we might see HBAR come in and set an all-time high. If Bitcoin's going to go and break all-time highs, most of the altcoins are probably going to get close, if not boom, past the all-time highs. And something like HBAR, such a fundamentally, in my opinion, sound project, could potentially be expecting major all-time highs. So let's have a look at this and see where that 1-to-1 extension aligns with that trend line. And you can see right there that gives us a target zone for around the middle of 2024, which kind of aligns with that analysis that I did on the altcoins. I said about a March 2024 altcoin season. We know that altcoin seasons do not tend to last more than 2 to 3 months. So March, let's have a look at that. March 2024, April, May, June. Could this be the zone here for HBAR where if we are to get a major alt season, Bitcoin breaks an all-time high? These are all hypotheticals, but we need to plan it out. Could we see a 1-2, 1-2 impulse to the upside, something like this for HBAR? This is your selling point. This is where to take major profits as we retest the trend line to the upside with key inflection points on the chart. 1, 2, breakdown level here, capitulation, accumulation range for another all-time high. We've seen it so many times in the past with altcoins. We know it can happen. It might be unbelievable to think that at these levels, after seeing HBAR at such heights at 50 cent and going for a major correction to the downside over a major 700, nearly 800 day period. Many people have got PTSD here, bear market PTSD kicking in for people who cannot accept that after a 93-94% drop, we could not go and set all-time highs. These ideas are inapplicable to many people right now, which is a good sign. We're seeing not many people return back into the market if HBAR is about to set an all-time high and get to that $1.70 region. I bet you bottom dollar many people will want to come in and buy at these levels because they'll be saying, well, we've broken the range, but what could that be? It could simply be a deviation above the range, get all the buyers trapped and come in again for an 80 and 90% correction all the way to the downside. We've seen it so many times. Let's just sit back, relax, let the market do the work. And the plan remains the same here for HBAR. We've had a plan for a long time here. We've done our major buys at 3.5 cents. We've sold some for profits up at 9, and we rebought again on these levels back in June. So it's a really good time here for HBAR. If we was to set a new low and the idea is invalidated, we've got a wick to body trend line as to where we might be expecting HBAR to drop to and come in and fill some of this wick, and we know where our next major buys are going to be for HBAR. But on the lower time frame, marking out the inefficiencies to the upside on HBAR, 15 to 18 cent is going to be a really key psychological and profit take level, in my opinion. That's where I'm going to take the next majority of my profits if the market was to give it to us, and then again just sitting back, relaxing and waiting for either the higher or lower targets to be hit for HBAR. And when we take a look at the HBAR Bitcoin chart, HBAR against Bitcoin, we see the alternation, we see the range set here for HBAR. We see when we are at the bottom of these ranges, it's a good time to rotate your Bitcoin into HBAR, and it's a good time when you see in the top of the ranges come in to potentially rotate some of them HBAR profits back to Bitcoin. And that's a game you can play if you do want to play that rotational aspect. But again, just looking at the HBAR Bitcoin chart, we're seeing we're nearing the bottom of this range now. And this does not mean that if we was to drop like this, that HBAR USD has to drop. That could just mean that Bitcoin goes on a bit of a rampage, 40, 50k. HBAR goes up in USD value, but doesn't go up as much as Bitcoin, so it loses value against Bitcoin. We see that rotational aspect of the market where Bitcoin comes into a stalling point, the altcoins take over, HBAR against Bitcoin goes for a reversal and works its way back to the top of these ranges, which, against Bitcoin, we're talking about, let's have a look at that. 500% gains. If Bitcoin's going up by 200 off the lows, 300%, we're talking about major 1,500% gains here, which would align from the current levels in the USD value to get to them upper targets at around 18, $1 and $1.70 for HBAR. So we're seeing some similarities. We're seeing the math potentially work out here with the market structure coming in for a potential bottom here for HBAR, as people will again be looking at this range for HBAR and Bitcoin, saying, well, we've broken the range. How many times do we see this? Have a look at that. Everyone would have said, oh no, we've broken the range, we're going down, just a deviation, send it to the upside. Everyone maybe now saying, oh no, look, the range is broken, we're going down, we've had the retest, let's expect lower, where again people may get caught offsides here and send it to the upside once again. So yeah, just a little outlook here on HBAR using the log charts, potential clues with Fibonacci and trend lines, and the HBAR Bitcoin chart to give us an idea of what we want to be doing. We've got a potential bearish scenario which we've planned for and got some of them profits saved for them 2.5 cent levels to be hit. If they do get hit, it's an opportunity. If they don't, we just sit back, relax, let HBAR ride it to the upside. We see the inefficiencies in the market filled on the USD chart and potentially coming to get filled on the Bitcoin chart as well. We take profits along the way. We know that's the only way we can set ourselves for success in this market. But having a plan, having an outlined, designated plan and what you're going to do at certain price levels is the only way you're going to have a bit of success in this market, guys. So of course, from me, it's not financial advice. All I'm doing right now for HBAR is sitting back, letting the market do the work, let the market range out, and if we get the pumps, we'll sell. If we get the dumps, we'll buy. But either way, people may say, oh, well, now you're just calling for up or down. We've played the market and HBAR to perfection at the minute. 3.5 cent buys, 9 and 10 cent sells with profitability at the optimal levels for the last year of HBAR without using leverage, just spot positions and using market psychology. So guys, if you like the video, give it a like. Any comments, subscriptions, always appreciated. Sit back, relax, let the market do the work. It's not financial advice, but I'll see you next time. Cheers.